Hi, I'm Will Snyder, actor, fight director, and contrarian asshole. Wicked is overrated. But we're not here today to talk about how I'm right. We're here to talk about fighting. Stage fighting. Specifically, about the evolution of stage combat from the 19th century to today, the 21st century. Unless, of course, you're watching this from the distant future. In that case, sorry about Super Corona and the dystopian metaverse of President Zuckerberg. My primary sources for this project are The Transformation of Stage Combat in 19th Century England, we're just gonna pretend it's America, by Andres Xavier Lopez, Wikipedia, The Fight Master magazine by the SCFD, and my 12 years of training in stage combat that I probably could have spent on a more marketable skill, like graphic design, or literally anything else. But before we get to the 19th century, we need to go back.
In the beginning.
Not that far back. Stage combat has several predecessors. War dances of indigenous peoples and cultures could incorporate a type of stage combat. Gladiatorial combat can be seen as a precursor with its applied theatrics to the fighting arena. Applied theatrics, of course, to mass murder. Then we have till we get to Elizabethan theater and the greatest playwright of all time, It's Shakespeare. It's William Shakespeare. The bodacious bard, as he was known in his day, wrote lots of combat in his plays. Some of the more famous ones being Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Hamlet, Die Hard, The Secret Life of Pets 2. So upon further review, it turns out William Shakespeare didn't actually write The Secret Life of Pets 2. I am still waiting though to hear back on Die Hard. But this was an era where fencing schools were very common. They were like Starbucks, except if they got your name wrong, you stabbed them. So you would have actors like Richard Tarleton, a member of both William Shakespeare's acting company and of the London Masters of Defense Weapons Guild. These were the days of employing real fencing techniques into stage combat. However, not all actors can take years of training, and so you would eventually get the standards. The standards were essentially prearranged pieces of fight choreography that were very popular with audiences of the 19th century, and they were passed down through the generations of great actors of the time. Looking at you, John Wilkes Booth. No, seriously, there are reviews of John Wilkes Booth performing stage combat as Richard III specifically. Booth's face blackened and smeared with blood, he seemed Richard himself. His combat with Richmond was a masterpiece.
The fight between Richard and Richmond in the last scene is most terrific. Indeed, we have never seen it equaled on the stage.
Now, these standards had some impressively inventive names, such as the Threes, and the Fives, and the Round Eights. It's important to note as well that we don't exactly know what these standards look like, and we only have reviews and remembrances to go off of, as Andres explains. While they would provide information on which moves the actor would implement, they neither provide information on how exactly these moves would be implemented, nor how the actor felt about them. But we do have some idea. The Threes, for example, would have been 2 sword clashes to the low line, followed by 1 clash to the high line. So it would have looked something like this. 1, 2, 3. Add 2 more, and now you have the Fives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Add 3 more, and we're at the Round Eights. which would consist of 2 high attacks, 2 low attacks, 2 high attacks, and 2 low attacks, creating a figure 8 motion. The round 8s would be the foundation of the standards. Now, actors would not just be standing in place performing these fights. They would move about the stage, demanding the audience follow them. So, without further ado, here is Mercutio versus Tybalt using 19th century combat standards. The use of the standards began to fall out of favor by the turn of the 20th century, with the rise of cinematic fencing and fight directors such as Paddy Creen coming into prominence. Paddy would open his own fencing school, with some notable students being Sir Laurence Olivier, Alec Guinness, and Errol Flynn. Sorry, I have to segue here for a second. I need to mention this. During my research, I read an old copy of the magazine The Fight Master that a theater company back in the day employed what was called a play saver. It was an actor that waited in the wings, and if the audience started to get restless, they would run on stage and challenge one of the actors to a duel, perform a fight, and then exit. And this would have nothing to do with the plot. I didn't know you could perform shows like that. Can you imagine that today? You go see a production of, like, Wit, and someone in the audience goes, "Ugh!" And so an actor runs on stage and is like, "Ha-ha! En garde!" Like, what the hell? Anyway, back to the video. And in 1977, America would get its first governing body of stage combat, the Society of American Fight Directors, or the SAFD. This is a blank piece of paper. With the SAFD, stage combat has become a bit more codified, though choreographers will often apply some of their own style or pizzazz to their work. But the ideas of the standards still do resonate. I can speak as a fight director that I have several go-to pieces of choreography that I will use if I only have a few rehearsals to work with actors. So, to give an example of how a modern fight may look, here it is once again, Mercutio versus Tybalt, using today's stage combat. On go!
Tybalt, you rat catcher. Will you walk?
What wouldst thou have of me?
Good king of cats? Nothing but one of your 9 lives.
I am for you.
Come, sir. Your passado.
That's right, this ain't your grandma's stage combat. Well, that wraps up this video. I hope everyone learned something today. I know I sure did. If your play is boring, just put in a sword fight.